Hello. So we have Botcello, Semo, just very nice. Abraham. So I do my best to pronounce your name, guys. Jeremiah, awesome. Nice to see you. Given, that's great. So tell me, guys, where you guys are from. I'd love to hear which parts of the world. That'd be great. Here we're from Mustafa from Morocco. That's great. Who else do we have here? We have, but you live in Poland. Okay, Erekme, that's very nice to meet you. We have, Lindu Kulu, Swaziland, very cool. We have Yasmin from New Zealand, awesome. Manahil from Pakistan. Sarim from India, that's fantastic. Great, Jeremiah from Nigeria. Wonderful, that's so great. And we have here Annie from India, Celestine from Kenya, Emerson from Brazil. Wow, from all over the world, guys. This is so exciting. Aniola from Nigeria. Wonderful, guys. Okay, great. So today, where I'm going to present this very kind of obscure topic. It's obscure in the sense that we're going to be talking about things a little bit more on the spiritual level, because self-image really comes from who we are deep at our core and how we see each other, ourselves. And I'm going to do it to the best of my knowledge and my ability, and what I believe to be true about it, and what's really essential to understand about it. So it's up to you to either, to adopt it or formulate it from your own perception of it, okay? But first, I want you to write in the chat box, okay? What do you know about self-image? What do you know about that stuff? I'd love to hear what some of your thoughts are. So having lots of people coming in here. As a given from Uganda, that's great, because I saw you earlier. Thanks for letting me know where you're from. So what do you guys know about self-image? I'd love to, put it in the chat and I'm going to share it. I'm really looking to understand what your ideas are of self-image before we kind of get into that information. So yes, Samantha, you're saying the manner in which we view ourselves. Yes, good. Payal is saying self-image is how you present yourself to others. Okay, so we're saying how we see each other and then how you see yourself in view of other people. Good. Any other aspects? Your self-image. This is huge, guys. A mental picture that we have for ourselves. So I like that, a mental picture. It's the visualization of what we see in our mind, and our mind has a lot to do with it. So yes, Amina, also you see it as a mental picture that you have of ourselves. Yes, okay, good. Ikrama, you have a little bit of a different take on it. It's related to the way that you sell your image. How do you sell yourself? I'm all about, that is what I do. I help people to sell services and products at the high level. But when you get into selling, you understand that that's not essentially what you're doing every day. When you're negotiating with others, mostly on a regular basis, that really is the essence of selling. Rania, so the self-image is your personal view that you have of yourself. So how you specifically see yourself. Sarim, understanding my curiosity and your limits. Okay. Rania, creating that image. So you have the power to create your own self-image, because we are creative beings. And that goes a little bit more in that spiritual thing that we're going to talk about today. Mustafa, you see yourself as a loser because everything I tried wasn't good at all, doing my best, risking it all. And I end up that I got nothing from it. And at the end, it means I'm not that good one. Well, Mustafa, I am going to invite you today to really take a look and to listen, because the truth is you are an infinite being and you have an unlimited power and potential. So we're going to help you. I hope this is going to help you to kind of to shift that self-image in the way that you see yourself, because your failures, they're not just failures, they are lessons. And that is at the core what life is all about. Love, joy, and sorrow all live as one. We have to integrate that. So Evans, you see it as how you perceive yourself, including both observable and internal aspects. Okay, so what you observe and what you see internally and outside. Okay. Given self-image refers to my imagination of my position in terms of my career. Well, there is a lot to do with your imagination. So that is huge. That is huge. Just a second, my screen just went kind of small in a way that I don't want it to. Just a second. Let me go back. Okay. I'm on a Mac today and I'm not used to the Macs. It just got really big. Just a second, guys. I'm just touching my mouse. Okay. Thanks for your patience. Okay, just one moment, guys. I'm really sorry. I just have to get this taken care of. Just a moment. No, yes, there is. So just show me just on the side here. Okay, thank you. I'm back. Thanks, guys. I had to double click on the mouse and get that thing going. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. Always those little technological things, right? Oh, thank you, Payal. You actually had it going. You told me you had to double screen tapping on that bar. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's get into it a little bit more, guys. So we're going to, all right. So lots of different approaches, but we're going to go a little bit deeper today, okay? And I'm going to approach in the way that I feel is a good way to approach it. But I do have a bit of a word of warning before we start, okay? We're going to go a little bit, there's some elements that we're going to do a little bit of inventory. So we might go in a bit in the negative today, okay? And when you do look at your lower self-esteem, because it takes part of some of that stuff when we're looking at self-image. I'm going to present it in that way, but I don't want you to stay there, okay? I see a lot of people that take inventory on all the bad stuff and they see it through that lens. And we want you to understand that I don't want you to internalize it and then emotionalize it, okay? I want you to take a look at it from an objective point of view. You're like a scientist. You're looking at it to understand it, but you're not harmonizing with it. Okay, that's super important. So I really want you guys to understand that everything is created twice. Okay, first in your mind and then in the physical realm. So everything, if you think about it, everything that you see around you is actually something that was created from someone. Like this computer, that one day, like the screen that I have, the computer, one day that was actually in someone's mind and it was conceived to actually come out in the physical. So whatever it's important to understand that whatever is our mind is actually what comes out to be our physical reality. And often, so we get results, right? We get results that we like, and sometimes we get results that we don't like. And we don't know why it's that way. It's a bit of that the way that the human race is, but we love to keep an eye on the negative stuff and even internalize it. And that can have a really big impact on your self-image. And for some people, when we start studying this stuff, studying, personal development, understanding the self-image, understanding our purpose, understanding our goals, understanding persistence and all of our six higher faculties and what it takes to really get to the goal that we want. For some people, it can happen fast, and it works so quick. And for some of us, unfortunately, it's not that fast. And then sometimes we'll go up and then we'll go down. We'll go up and then go down. And that means there's often something that we have to reconcile in ourselves. So there's a habit that we have to get rid of or switch over. And when we hear that stuff, when we're not getting the results that we want, it can be hard. It can be hard to take. It can be a pain to kind of hear it. It's a pain to have to go through the fact that there's something that's missing within us, or something we're not seeing, something we're not understanding, for us to get the results that we're looking for. And if your outside hasn't changed, it's that your paradigms haven't changed. And if you don't know what a paradigm is, it's essentially a belief that you have towards yourself. It's a belief and a habit, we can say. And often paradigms are a little bit seen more on the negative side of things. It's essentially what might be a limiting belief. So like I said, if the outside hasn't changed, it's because your paradigm hasn't changed. It hasn't gotten into the subconscious. So you're kind of stuck in the intellect of knowing, but you don't know from a more spiritual level. And, from my point of view, I don't think I've ever enjoyed a single time that I was told that it was me. When you look in the mirror, it has everything to do with you, and it starts with you. And you have to understand also that you're not to blame for your results. Okay, that's really important. But you are responsible for them, if that makes sense. So where you are today, you're not to blame for your results, but you are responsible for them. Okay. So let's take a look at self-image. Let's define it from what I know of the best knowledge. And you guys have come up with some really good understanding of what that is already. And that's important. And the self-image really is what is shaped. So it's an image that is impressed into our subconscious mind, okay, through genetics, environment, experience, and more. And I say more because it's such a vast concept. These images get passed on from generation to generation. So often, what our grandparents, what our parents have gone through is often what gets translated into how we also view ourselves and how we are with the world. So like I said, it's a key to understand that you're not to blame for your results, but you are responsible for them, okay? And if you are getting bad results, you're not consciously doing that. You're not it's not something that you're thriving to get to, we have a tendency of just doing it unconsciously because that's, like I said, it comes from our genetics, our environment, and our experience. So it's also a cybernetic mechanism, and that means that we are goal-seeking organisms. So we are literally wired up to produce. Okay, but the question is, what is it that we are producing? What is it that you are producing? there's I teach a lot of people, how to think about that mindset, and they say the statistic can be that about between 80 and 90% of businesses fail, and they fail because 90% of people don't change. So whenever you go to change, you always have an old self-image and a new one. And we're all wired up to produce as goal-seeking organisms, and will produce at that level of awareness and produce based on our self-image. Okay, so we're goal-seeking and we produce at the level of our awareness, and our awareness is based on our perception of our self-image. So often we can't go. You won't outperform your self-image. Okay, so if you're wired to be an employee, like if you have mostly been an employee your whole life, and you want to step out and start a business and start selling, but it's not producing results, it's because you haven't shifted your self-image. You haven't shifted the conception of yourself, of who you are. Are you a business person, or are you simply an employee that gets by? Because you can get by when you don't have a lot of skin in the game. When you're not risking that much, when your job really is simply just to go to work and just do the job, there's not much thinking in that. When we start a business, we get into and we sell. There's also, or you're a salesperson. You are in the essence of being an entrepreneur, and that is to become a leader. So there's a part of you that needs to shift that perception of yourself as being that leader, and that takes a lot in there. I'm just taking a look at some of the comments here. Yeah, okay. So that's why I really love working with salespeople in general, because when you're a salesperson, you're kind of like your own little enterprise. Sure, you can be working inside a company, but at the same time, it's you and salesmanship, which demands entrepreneurship. They go hand in hand. And the ones that are not salespeople really are often employees, which are more order takers, right? And self-image is impressed on every cell and upon our subconscious. Because when we're changing our self-image, we have to understand that, thoughts coming into our mind gets into our subconscious, which subconscious is more like our emotional mind. And through our body, through our emotional mind, that's what the action that we take. If we haven't emotionalized an idea, there's less chances of us becoming going into the action of actually taking it. And the self-vision truly is how we see ourselves. So and the most amazing thing, and that was one of the things that really had an impact on me when I first heard it, is that every self-image exists within you all at one time. It's actually infinite, which gives you the opportunity to choose it. And decision has a lot to do with what we're talking about today. So when you have the opportunity to choose the self-image that you want for yourself, the ones that you focus on, the one that you move on, it's almost like it's an infinite level of vibration. That's the one that you choose, that you focus on. That's the one that's going to move. So you level up that vibration and infinite amount of images that you're creating, and therefore there's an infinite amount of vibrations. And the one that you focus on is ultimately what alters the image, and ultimately that's what changes your reality. Because if you don't have the self-image to engage in an action, you won't engage in the action itself. So it doesn't push you. So you have to change that self-image to be able to see to be able to engage in the action itself. And that needs to first come into your intellect, that then goes into your emotional mind, your subconscious, and then into action. So you can't outperform your self-image. So and it has, like, that is at the core what's important. And you must make the decision to go after that goal, because today we're talking about the purpose of like the pursuit of your goals and your purpose and how much that has an impact. But you have to make the decision to go after the goal that you have for yourself. And the problem is a lot of people just haven't made that decision, because once you actually make the decision, you flip your mind to the frequency and the vibration that you're looking to engage in, and that's where the magic happens. And I know, because I've been there, and I've switched that frequency, I've switched that vibration, and that is indeed how the magic happens. And we're constantly growing our self-image. It's in movement, it's organic, it's constantly changing. I like this expression, new level, a new devil, new level. New level, new devil. It's every time that we move to that next level, there are new obstacles, new things that we have to kind of contend with, different ideas that are going to kind of push back and resist, so we're constantly changing our self image as we're growing. So you get the money, and you get the goal when you make the decision to make the money and to make the goal a reality. And this is hard to comprehend, when you don't have money in front of you, and you don't have the goal, what you're aiming for, and you're not winning. And you're probably thinking, okay, stop it. Like, yeah, don't you see that it's hard for me? Because it is hard. It is hard to change it, to perceive that new self-image, and to get those results. When you're not attaining that goal, and you don't see it in front of you, and you don't have that money in front of you. But this, it kind of links to that story about the Israelites, that they wandered the world for about 40 years, when the promised land was right there. And that's the whole thing. It's right here. You're like so close to it. It's like and that's what I mean by every self-image exists within you. You have a choice to engage in the self-image that you want to start seeing those results. You got to flip your mind to what you want. I talk to a lot of people, and I get a lot of messages, and a lot of my clients, and sometimes some of them come up to me like, I've been thinking about this for a while. I think I want to quit. And I'm like, well, how long have you been thinking about that? Like, the minute you start thinking about quitting is the minute you have to call me, and we can have a conversation about that thought coming through. Because if you're thinking about quitting, your desire will come through. That is essentially what will manifest in your reality. You cannot perform your self-image, so you expand to that new self-image. Okay, it wants to control. Like, when you expand to that new self-image, okay, it wants to contract and the world wants to come in. Okay, and when the world comes in, and you're expanding and putting into motion that new self-image, it doesn't resonate with the new model. When the world comes in that you're confronted with, it doesn't jive. It doesn't come together. So we go down. We want to be comfortable again, and that's often when we think about quitting. So the importance is to truly kind of reside in that discomfort of the new self-image that we're creating for ourselves. But once we start to break through, and we experience a little bit of winning too, okay, because again, we're contracting and contracting, and things are going well, still the world is still going to push back, and we can revert. And once you get up, it's almost a little bit harder to kind of stay up. And that's based on the information that we have on you, that you have on yourself. And that's why I ask everyone at the beginning of the workshop, I want you to share some information that you believe is true about the idea, because there's a lot of different ways that you can get some information, but it's based on the information that you have on you. And the problem is that with a lot of people is that we don't know ourselves really well. People don't know themselves really well. And that's why in this workshop we're getting a little spiritual, because people really don't know this stuff, you know, and that's why most people that's why for most people things don't work out. They don't have the core fundamental understanding of what's really going on, and that's what this workshop is all about. So yeah, so Kelchi, you're saying like new layers of your personality keeps unfolding every day, and that really is the goal. You're engaging in really kind of like um, getting that new layer, that new thing. Like when you've accomplished new things, you internalize that feeling, and that makes a huge difference. Yeah. You have to understand, okay? This is big. So if you have a pen and paper, okay, I'm inviting you to write it down. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Okay. We are in the internal presence. Yeah, the internal present moment. There isn't anything else that truly exists except the present moment. Okay. And what so we might, you know, we think about the future. We think about like where we want to go, and that's the direction. So we think we're going to get there. We're going on the trajectory to go towards our future. But the truth is we have infinite amount of different futures that's actually coming towards us. And the future that is chosen to move towards us is how we identify with ourselves right now in this present moment. Okay? You don't get what you want, you get what you are. Identity is at the core. And identity is actually what belongs in our subconscious mind. And to create that identity, it's actually a lot about mental rehearsal, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we will get a lot of ideas, but we need to internalize those ideas. And once we've reconciled with ideas, we're no longer fighting it in our intellect anymore. It just becomes part of who we are. So you want to change your life and live your purpose and your goals, you got to change yourself and the way that you see yourself. Your self-image is based on information you have on you. Like I said, most people don't understand themselves. And the most important thing is that they don't understand how amazing they are. Like you are truly amazing. They don't know. Like, and I do this with a lot of people when I work with them. You know, I try to crack something. I want them to see themselves, to see how amazing they truly are, and change, you know, an entire generation of ideas. Because like I said, it comes from genetics, right? So that these ideas from the past, or how maybe the family or your friends or your environment and how you see each other, they might have never like woken up to that. And it's just because they just don't know. And it's, again, it's not to blame someone for where they are at. It's just now you have the choice to take the responsibility to engage in it. And you have to know that self-image is usually in there by the time that you're 4 years old. So we're gonna acquire different information that we have about ourselves today, and in the hopes that it's going to alter your self-image. But that is, of course, on the condition that you accept the idea, that you accept this new idea. Because to get a new model of yourself, a new self-image, you can go again. It can go against everything that you believe about yourself, or that you subconsciously believe about yourself. And that's the part that makes it harder when we're changing that. That there might be, you know, a habit or a belief that shows up in lots of different areas in your life, but understand that those habits or those things, that the belief that keeps showing up, that's like the paradigm, right? But it's actually your self-image that's at the root. So the way that you perceive something is the way that you are actually going to believe something. So when we say we're spirit, like in essence, we are a spiritual being. Yeah, we have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. Okay. So when we see ourselves as that spiritual being, the spiritual being is our self-image. For some people, you're going to have to jump across the Grand Canyon, all right, to get to your goal, to make the money that you want. And for some people, it's you're going to have to jump across the creek to get what you want. Different people have had, again, different genetics, different experiences, different environments to mold them to mold them into who they are and the perception that they have of themselves. Okay, and this might be seem bold, okay, but accept what I'm telling you. Okay, accept what the people that have results, the results that you want, are telling you. You know, just say to yourself, like, okay, this is my new belief now. This is how I'm going to go about seeing the world and engaging in the world. But do that until that belief is proven wrong. Okay, so kind of revert it. Don't look for you proving that belief. Do it until it's proven wrong. But you'll see, like it won't be proven wrong. It won't prove itself wrong. Self-image is not altered through your will and your determination by forcing yourself. Okay, it really is about, opening up and calming yourself and letting it allow to come in. And the thing is, you'll feel it when your still self-image starts to change. And I see it in my clients a lot, especially that I'm in sales. A lot of the clients will start, what I'll see in them when they're going to start getting those clients. It's an energy. It's a force. And again, you're not to blame for your results, but you're responsible for them. So, and that's the thing. Like, how can you blame someone for not knowing and for not behaving the way that they've always behaved? Yeah. So I have a question. How do we preserve personal identity, especially now that there are many vices that are hell-bent on influencing who we are and what we think? So that is where that's a good question, Kelechi. Thank you. That's where you have that responsibility. Okay, you have that choice. It all comes down to choice and decision making. What are you going to choose to have as information that's going to be in front of you? What are you going to move forward as the information that you want to engage to change the way that you see yourself and how that's going to impact? And my recommendation for that is, who do you see as someone that you admire? Who has the results that you want in your life? And you focus on them. Okay, you don't focus on the ones that have the other perceptions. Okay, I hope that helps. So when we're talking about self-image, we're also talking about self-worth. All right. Self-worth it's a big one. It's a big one as well, and it is part of that self-image. And so when we're talking about the self, so let's actually just define what the self means. Okay. I know a couple of you had mentioned it at the beginning, and it had the way that we see ourselves. Well, the self is an individual person, as the object of its own reflective consciousness. Okay, we're, so far as we know, in terms of the animal world, we're the only ones who can really self-reflect on ourselves, to look at ourselves as an entity in itself, as the object of our own consciousness, which is, like, in itself absolutely amazing. That we can actually reflect upon ourselves. Of course, it brings a few levels of burden, of course, as well, but it's what can help us to actually grow. So there's 4 questions I'm going to show you. 4 questions that we really think about when we think about self-worth, and self-image overall, but self-worth specifically. So the first one is, how do I see myself? And take the time, write these ones down. If you have a pen and paper, write it down, and um, and reflect on them after the presentation. Like, how do I see myself? How do I feel about myself? Because seeing is more the way that we think about ourselves. The way that we feel about ourselves is also an element. So that goes deeper into the subconscious, because our emotional mind is that subconscious. And then we want to think about, how do others see me? How do others see me? And how do others feel about me? I am not who I am. I am who you think I am. It's a bit of a philosophical one to think about there. I am not who I am. I am to you who you think I am. That is how much perception has to do with the way that we engage in the world. Such a powerful one, perception. Your perception is essentially at the core of what's going to engage you in the actions that you want to take. Everything is a reflection, but that reflection can change. And that's why it's important to do an inventory. So these 4 questions that I'm showing you, it's good to sit there and say, like, how do I see myself? Okay, and then you can write that answer, right? One of the greatest habits you can actually engage in is actually the habit of asking yourself questions. That's actually one of the ways that you can actually live through the most amount of growth, is to ask yourself questions consistently. So when I say, how do I see myself? You might write that down. It's like, why do I see myself this way? Why do I see myself so? What impact has seeing that way had on me? In what way has it had an impact? And then how would I like to change the way that I see myself? How would that have an impact on me? One of the best things that I ever learned is that questions are the answers. Questions are the answers. So we've taken a little bit at that look at the self, and some of the self-reflective questions that we have to ask ourselves to get a better understanding. But there's also the idea of worth. Okay, what is worth? Worth really is the value equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration. Okay, what's the value of this? You're gonna put a level to which it deserves to be valued or rated. But now the question is, as a human being, and how I've mentioned that we are infinite, in our abilities. How do you place a value on something that's infinite? How do we actually do that? Because if you subscribe to the fact, and this is what I'm presenting to you, and again, that's for you to decipher and figure out for yourself. But I strongly suggest that you consider it and maybe adopt that belief, is that you're a spiritual being and you have an intellect and you live in a physical body. So how do you place worth on it? It's an interesting concept. It's like really interesting. But you are right now placing value on it. That is the reality. Okay? You are setting your own self-worth. It's a decision. The thing is, it might have been an unconscious decision before, right? Because like I said, that comes from generations and your environment and your experience. So you might have not consciously made that decision. But again, you're not to blame for your results, but you are responsible for them. So your responsibility now is to make that decision of setting what your own self-worth is. And you must know that your self-worth controls how you accomplish your goals and how much money you make. Where do you value yourself and value your service at? because I don't know, some of you might be entrepreneurial, some of you might have your own business, some of you might be thinking of putting together your own business. Some of you might want to be engaged in a company where you are providing a lot of service and value within that company. So you want to ask yourself, where do you value yourself as having that ability, and where do you value your service at? The problem is that most of us don't value ourselves all that much. You know, a lot of people, a lot of us are playing second fiddle to your own show. You're not the lead in the movie. You know, you're the we call that the secondary character, but no, there's an actual word for that. You are the it's escaping me. That's okay. You're not playing the lead in your own movie. And often that's due to, those limiting beliefs, those experiences. You tried something and it didn't work out and you took it personally. Or our culture doesn't often support us being leaders. Our culture often supports us to be followers. And I really want you to encourage that when you are seeing yourself change, and it's often when we change that we're going to feel more of that discomfort, and we're going to be pushed back by a lot of obstacles. But if you truly see that yourself have changed, like one of you had said about you're changing those layers every day, I want you to celebrate it. Don't beat yourself up. Yeah, a non-playable character, a side character. Yes. An NPC. Yes, I like that. Yeah. A flat character. Yeah, we're looking to be the main leaders of our own life, the leader of our own life. So again, how valuable is a human being? It's an interesting idea. Where do you value yourself? And once you start asking yourself that question, it's going to show up everywhere. It's going to show up in your relationships. It's going to show up in your professional life. It's going to show up in your hobbies. It's going to show up in the realization of your dreams, in understanding what your purpose is. Understanding what your purpose is, that's very, very well linked to your self-worth. Because a purpose is it's like a non-thing, right? It's you have your goal. It's more of a physical thing, and then your purpose is something like that's bigger than you. It's part of your spirit. It's the reason why you're on this earth, and that no thing is actually that force. It's like an energy force that's moving you, because you're going to have goals, and you're going to have many goals in your life. Once you achieve them, often you're like, okay, where's the next goal? But your purpose is bigger than that. Your purpose is like the combination of all the goals that you have within yourself, that you have for yourself. It's the reason why you're here. And the thing is, no one knows the potential that they have, because it's an infinite scope, and that potential, it's like you have to kind of consider, where does this worth come from? Who decides your worth? Who decides it? Because if you're in the habit of letting other people decide your worth, it's a bad habit, because they will. You ultimately have the ability to choose your own worth. When you're going out there and you're presenting yourself at a job, right? You're going for a job interview, or you're trying to, make a deal with someone. Okay, you have to think of that. You have to think of your worth, and you have to embody it in that moment. Yeah, you're going to be scared. Yeah, but you can do it, and every time that you do it, it changes and it changes and it changes and you grow. And that when you change that self-worth, it changes your self-image. Your worth can go into infinite too, right? Like, because we're infinite being, your worth can grow, it can grow, and but you have to decide where you want it to be. Because ultimately, as a human being, as a human, no one is better than you, and no one is worse than you. When we talk about worth, no one's better than you, and no one's worse than you. You know, we're kind of on that neutral as an overall perspective. But you are going to do things better than other people do them, and others will do things better than you do them. So you want to ask yourself, where do you want to increase your worth? Like in your profession, for example, where do you want to increase your worth so that you can reach your goal, you can live your purpose, and you can make more money in life? Make more money so that you can be free and free to help others become free for themselves as well. You increase your ability. You have to increase your ability, and the value of your stock will go up. Okay, that's what we call the law of compensation. How good can you get at something that other people will be like, oh my God, we're lost without you because we don't have you to be able to support us? Where can you hone in on one ability, one thing that really speaks to you, that if you were to work in a group with that ability, that they wouldn't know how to replace you if you weren't there? But that's only if your self-image is wired up. Okay, because your self-image is the receiver. What do I mean by the self-image is the receiver? There's a lot of people that ask me, because okay, when we start getting into this material and personal development and understanding the mindset, because the mindset is truly where everything starts and ends, in the way that you live your life. We know that when we are givers, okay, when we are givers, that's how the universe, compensates us. You know, the more we give, the more we receive. Okay, and we do it like with altruism. We do it not expecting anything in return. We do it because that is our mode of life. It's not what can I get from this. It's like, what can I help to gain for others by doing this? So yes, we want to give service. We want to serve. We want to give service 100%. So that is the output. But your self-image is actually the receiver. Your self-image is actually what you attract in. That's what allows you to receive things, okay? Because you see it as you have the worth of receiving it. So if your self-worth is low and you don't value yourself really highly, then you won't accept anything that's coming in. So you can give until the cows come home. Mother Teresa, she was an amazing giver. But if you want to attain your goals, if you want to increase your income, you have to understand it's the amount of money that you earn. That's how much it is. That's where it is. It resides in your self-image. And you might have moments where you are accepting more than others and do a little relapse, and slip back. But get that clear that your giving is the service 100%, but your image and your self-worth controls the receiving. There are some people, unfortunately, in this world that think that they're worthless. Well, the problem is those people, they don't know very much about themselves. Your job is to get to know more about yourself. The more about you know about yourself, the more you understand about others, and the more you can serve others. Because ultimately, when you look at your purpose and your goal, in the end, mostly and especially your purpose, the reason that you're here, is to serve others. It's like it's one form of you explaining how you are going to choose to be of service to others. That's often what your purpose is. In I'd say 90% of the cases. So this is why, when you work with me, that the number one rule is you're not allowed to feel bad about yourself. Okay? And that's what it's based on. When you feel bad about yourself, you have a bad self image about who you are and how you see yourself. Because you don't see yourself as worthy, or you see yourself negatively. And so you're not allowed to feel bad because you're infinite. Okay? And when things happen to you, it's simply a way to say, oh, I'm going to learn something new. This is a lesson. We're going to have obstacles and problems, especially when we're growing. It's like it's part of the deal. But feeling bad takes away from your self image, and it takes away from the receiving. That's the difference. Okay, it's an expression of ignorance when we feel bad about ourselves, because we are, like I said, we're infinite. So how far can it go? How far can your self-worth go? How amazing can it get? How far can you bring the self-worth to it? Yeah, I would say yes, money can influence your passion and your purpose. Usually your passion and purpose come first. Okay. And when your passion and purpose is actually what goes towards serving the world, and creating that version of yourself that is going to be the best to serve others and for you to serve your own life and to be free in life. And by being open to that, that's when the money comes in. The money is the effect, it's not the cause. You have to look at all of those things. You have to first change yourself before allowing the money to come in. That is at the core. Yeah. So, what advice would you give to someone starting their own growth journey? Oh well, that's a really good question, and I think that the fact that you want to start first is the best thing that you can engage. I think that if you're looking to engage in your growth journey, it's all about taking action. Think about what it is that you want to do for the world. How can you go out there and serve others? Um, Writing down what your purpose is, writing down what your goal is first and foremost what's going to be that guiding light. Okay. And your attainment of that goal and that pursuit of that purpose is actually what's going to open up the doors to your personal journey in itself. Because when you're moving, taking action towards it, that's where you're going to start seeing that growth. And that's where you're going to start learning about yourself and moving towards that direction. How do I discover my purpose? Doreen, I would say the first thing to do is to start writing down the things that you love to do. Start thinking about the things that matter to you. What matters to you in your life? And your purpose can change. You might write the first thing about your purpose first, and then it's going to develop as you start taking action towards it. And I found that nature is a good place. I mean, it depends on the person, but going in nature and being kind of reflective and writing an inventory about what are the things that matter, what am I interested in, how do I want to be of help to others. That helps to kind of open up that idea of what your purpose might be. Oh, yeah. So let's get a little bit into self-esteem now. Self-esteem it's similar to self-image, and I'm just putting it out there as what's in front of me here. So we have how do we like ourselves? How do we view ourselves? How do we accept ourselves? And how do we judge ourselves? Okay. I think that, you guys might agree that we're not all that great to ourselves sometimes. The large majority of us aren't. How do you truly judge yourself? And I like to say, and I know that might not be like a good word, but I don't know if it carries through globally, but am I a piece of shit or am I the shit? Being a piece of shit is thinking that you're a loser. Okay. When you're the shit, you're like, you see yourself as the best person. You see yourself with as that infinite being that can accomplish anything that they set their mind to. That sees themselves as being values to themselves and to others. So do you judge others? Do you gossip? Because we all judge. Everyone does it. I don't think anyone has ever broken through it. Okay, it's part of our human nature. Okay, to judge. It's almost how we determine what can be safe for us as well in life. Okay, but it's about reining it in. It's about being conscious about how much we are judging and what we're judging others and things for. When we judge people a lot, it is a sign of low self-esteem. It's like a symptom, and you can use the law of relativity to overcome it. The law of relativity. We think of Einstein when we think of that, but the law of relativity is everything is neither good nor bad, nor big nor small. It just is. In relation to everything that we have, there's always an opposite. It's like decisions. You don't have a good or a bad decisions. You simply have a decision, and the consequences of those decisions come through. And if you make decisions consistently, and maybe you have some bad ones that come in, it's like, well, then we have to start thinking like that you have bad circumstances, bad things that happen, or trouble, that it's reconsidering the decisions that we're making. Okay. So just like from a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say that you're at, with your self-esteem? Okay. What do your results reflect on it? You guys can put it in the chat if you'd like, if you're comfortable in doing that. Okay, great. So I'm good 7.5. Yeah. A 9, a 6, a 10. Awesome. 9. Great. So we have a lot of people who accept themselves for who they are. That's great. Love to see that. An 8. Awesome. There's a lot of power in that you can make a decision and have it. Okay. Anything you can do just to kind of get that edge, to get that self-esteem up. Even if you feel like a phony or a fraud, it's almost like a good sign when that you're engaged in something and you're like, I feel like I am above my capacity to do this. Okay, that's a good sign that we're pushing ourselves. We're pushing our self-image so that we can, because when we're actually engaged in it and we feel like a phony or a fraud, it's because the more we do it, the more we'll start identifying with it. Like I said, it has everything to do with your identity. We don't get what we want, we get what we are. So now that you get into true self-image It's actually spiritual because you're a spiritual being. Okay, when you exchange ideas here and there and everywhere, but at the root, there's always something that exists at the root of all of that, and it's you. You can swap beliefs, you can swap information, but it's still you at the core. Okay, you're a spiritual being. That is you. That is the real self-image. The spiritual perfection is the nucleus of you. It's perfect. And the point of life is to get closer and closer to this perfection. Not to think that the actions that we engage in always have to be perfect. It's simply that to see ourselves as already being infinite and perfect. And whatever we're going to engage in, even though it might be imperfect, is not a reflection on our imperfection as a human being. When you say, I'm in the flow, what are you in the flow of? Yeah, you're in the flow of that spirit. You can actually feel it. It's opulence. Opulence is the essence of luxury. It's life moving to and through you. And that is the true self image, that flow of spirit. And when you get defeats, you don't take it personally. No, you have to say, like, who gives a shit? I'm a person, I'm a human being. I engaged in the action in the first place. I went for it. There's no that's where faith comes in a lot. You made a decision, you went forward in that decision. Instead of being stuck in the indecision, you went for it, and then you got some feedback. You got that defeat. Okay, so how are we going to change course? What did I learn from this defeat? It's not a reflection on me. It doesn't decrease my worth when I actually get defeats. Okay. Self-image at the core, that's what's spiritual. We might get, we have a lot of beliefs in our different belief system, and that's what we call our paradigms, but the paradigms which we can see as limiting beliefs. But our paradigm is not our self-image. It's just an entity that floats around when our self-image is actually bigger than that. It's who you are and how you're going to adopt some of those beliefs that you're going to link up to that self-image. And when we increase our awareness and our spirit, we constrict it, and we can get rid of the things, of these beliefs that constrict us, and get it out of the way. So your purpose, like when you said, like, how do I start my journeys in personal growth? It's the conscious effort of increasing your awareness. How can you learn more to understand yourself? Your personal journey is all about truly taking the time to understand yourself. If we say that we have all self-images within us, because like I said at the beginning, all of the, like, every single self-image exists within you already. Okay. The one that you create and you focus on, it grows. So you permit them to express when you focus on it and you permit it to grow. So again, it's that openness, that receiving of allowing it to grow. When you have that core foundation that you live in a spiritual world and a thought universe, you start to relax and you start to take it easy more. And that goes really in line with that faith, the faith that you are that spiritual being that can move through the things that's difficult. It's not your real worth, you're already perfect. You just have to realize it. And when we realize that we can engage in imperfect things without having to just strive to always wanting to be perfect. We're not reaching out and trying to get there. We already are. And when you do things with acts of courage and you push through and you go after goals, the goal isn't a thing. Okay, it's not even close. The biggest gift is actually faith. That's the greatest gift. When we engage in that goal and we push through it, and we have faith in attaining it, that's where the magic happens. So confidence again, that plays a big element in self-image, self-esteem, self-worth. It's a massive concept. It's like, where do we even begin? It's almost like it's the ocean. um, it's an ocean. It's so big, and one of the first areas that dies with lack of confidence is your imagination. Okay, because we might have an idea, okay, that we want to move forward with something, right? We have an idea that comes into our imagination. We have created and imagined this great thing that we want to move towards. But if we don't have that confidence to move forward, it's the first faculty that dies. We won't engage more in that imagination because we don't have the confidence of thinking it's actually attainable or that we can actually move forward with it. And confidence is just another word for faith and trust. You reflect on times. I want you to, reflect on times where you had it. Reflect on times when you didn't have confidence. So yeah, write that on a piece of paper. When did I have confidence and when did I not have confidence? I like it's hard sometimes. I see someone who has said it's hard sometimes to like yourself, and that is so. Someone answered, "Always pray. It's the only solution." And praying is a form of telling ourselves or bringing in that thought of like connecting to a higher power and to that spirit, that spirit that is you, that spirit that is the mystery of the world. Different people will call it different things. We have God, we have our higher spirit, we have the power, we have spirit, we have infinite intelligence. There's something out there. If you choose to believe that and to accept that idea, we have different elements that there's a mystery that is beyond us. And when we start talking and having a conversation and a dialogue, we are inputting what it is that we want and the things that are important to us within us. Prayer can have a very, very important influence on creating that self-image that you want for yourself. And yeah, confidence does make things easier. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it makes things easier because you trust in yourself and you have faith in yourself and you believe in yourself. Yeah. Confidence, faith, trust, and belief, it's all the same thing. And the thing is, it's important, like often our confidence will wane, okay? It will go back down if we break our promises to ourselves. That's why it's important to keep the promises we make to ourselves. So sometimes don't go for something that is really huge at the beginning. Like have that big goal, but break them down to small things. Because when you break, if you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, you might not realize that it's a big thing. But what it's actually doing is that um, it diminishes your self confidence because you don't end up trusting yourself. And the next time that you say that you'll do it, I don't know, post that video or make that amount of money for the month, or go and call a bunch of people so that you can make that sale, and you don't hit that goal, then you chip away at your self image and your self esteem, And your subconscious, it goes like, yeah, you again. You're telling me that again? Pfft, you won't do it. No, we tried that before. Remember what you did instead? You procrastinated, or you did this. And that's when doubt just starts to like grow a lot more. And your subconscious won't accept that idea anymore. So it's important to do the things you say to yourself that you're going to do. And yes, that does take discipline, but discipline is part of that growth. Fear. Ooh, fear. I don't know if you know, but everything that you want is on the other side of fear. Everything that you want is on the other side of fear. I love this saying, happiness is freedom, and freedom is courage. It's all about courage. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. And fear is that corrosive thread. If you look at the bottom here, I have impact, and it weaves itself through life's fabric. It's a corroding thread that weaves its way through the fabric of our life. And when we talk about false beliefs, that's where it is. That's where it resides. Because part of our self-image can be, right now, false beliefs about ourselves. And fear is a state of mind. The sequence of fear begins with indecision and doubt. Indecision is a decision. It's the decision to stay stuck. And indecision is fear. And that's why we're here, so you can become aware of it. You don't understand yourself that much if you have a lot of indecision in your life. And why you don't understand yourself that much is because no one might have taught you before. So again, don't beat yourself up. Okay, we're not here to feel bad about it. You're not here to you're not there to blame on your results. You're responsible for them. It's all good. You're here. You're here, and you're willing to learn, and now you're moving forward with some of the new knowledge that you're gaining. And like I said, there's no right or wrong decision. There's simply only a decision. And if you were to get in trouble a lot often, then we have to reconsider the decisions that we're making for different consequences, different outcomes and circumstances. Because if you allow fear to make your decisions, you're going to stay exactly where you are. If you make decisions on fear, you will go as far as you will ever go. You will not go any further. You will never change or grow or experience life. Because everything you want is on the other side of fear. So if you're making decisions based on fear, you are staying exactly where you are. You are in your comfortable little place. Because we can be comfortable in our fear. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you can absolutely be comfortable in the discomfort that you're in and in your fear. And you want intuition to play a big part in your life. Intuition is what can be your guiding beacon. And it's not going to be functioning while fear is there, while you're operating in a state of fear. And I can't tell you how many people I know, especially because I'm in the realm of selling and helping people learn how to sell in English, that they confuse intuition with fear. And it's obvious why. Like fear is a very strong emotional pull. It's really big. It's as strong as desire. Okay? But it's not going to function. Intuition is not going to function. Okay? It's really important to become very aware of what is fear, and to almost embrace it so we can move through it, so that we open up and allow that intuition to be there for us. And because fear can germinate and it can grow without their presence or its presence being detected. Okay, we might not even see it. So that's why, again, we have to do that inventory. You have to look at your fears and ask questions and go to the root of them. You know, when I ask those questions, how do you see yourself? How do you feel about yourself? How do others see me? How do others feel about me? Those are questions that you want to ask yourself, because fears will come up in them. And there's two different types of fears that are the most important to consider. Okay, we have the fear of poverty, and the fear of poverty really is that there's no compromise between poverty and riches. You either are or you're not, and poverty is the acceptance of inferiority. Now, you do everything at an inferior level. You have inferior food, inferior clothing, inferior vehicles, housing, shelter, makeup, friends. Poverty can weave itself in the fabric of our lives. And whatever it is, it's just inferior. And no one's gonna like warmly accept poverty. It's not something that you truly want. It's not gonna knock at the door and be like, and you're gonna be like, yeah, come in, poverty. Like, welcome. Let me offer you a cup of tea. No one wants that. But the truth is, we do it. No one does consciously. We do it unconsciously. So but that is where it plays a role on our self-image and your self-worth. You know, how do you treat yourself? Fear will ensure that you treat yourself like shit. And no one can make that choice but you. You know, heavy decision making, the concept of it, when you get into the self-image, it's huge, because it's infinite. You have the decision of not living in that fear of poverty. And the fear of poverty is also the poverty that you have towards your self-image. It's the most destructive of all fears. We truly live in an opulent world. We truly live in abundance. And the thing is, unfortunately, abundance is actually what's kind of hidden. Our brain is, as I said at the beginning, we don't really know why, in terms of humans, why we focus on the negative. But there is a biological and evolutionary way why we focus on the negative, is because we're trying to self-preserve ourselves. You know, we are anxious about things because we want to make sure that we survive. Because if we didn't think about some of the negative things, we might not foresee the negative consequence that could kill us. So we have to take that into consideration. But the thing is, we over focus on it. And what you actually focus on, you have to shift on seeing that those are some of the negative things. But how are we going to shift it so we see it from a more positive, and because it's not also positive thinking, it's honest thinking. Often that fear comes in, and those negative ideas and emotions come in, but is it truly accurate? Is it truly what would be the outcome? And that's where courage comes in. We move forward with the expectation of what's going to be positive and honest in our endeavor, and that is actually what's going to create that reality. Because symptoms of the poverty of fear are the following. You have symptoms of indifference, of indecision. Decision, we talked about the inability to make choices, and decision making is huge when we're talking about our self-image, because we have to decide the self-image that we're going to create for ourselves. Poverty here, it adds a lot of like worry, and procrastination. You're delaying important actions. Again, that is related a lot with indecision. Procrastination is the decision not to move forward. But again, when we are in indecision, we're making the decision to stay where we are. When we're in indecision, it's the decision to stay stuck. Okay, and those are all effects, They're the primary effects that stems out of the fear of poverty. If you have any of these, if you like, which one do you suffer from? If you have any of these, like you are suffering from the fear of poverty, and the chances are, that you do. It truly does exist in everyone. But how are you going to manage it? How are you not going to let it affect your pursuit of your purpose and your goals, and not let it affect your self-image? Okay. And the second one is the fear of criticism. That's another huge one as well. Okay. And when we talk about the fear of criticism, it's the desire to be liked and appreciated. And everyone wants to be liked and appreciated. Everyone wants to be treated well, you know? Um, but the fear of criticism can be the number one killer of persistence. And persistence is another way of another word I like to use is faith. That are the biggest gift that we get when we move forward towards our goal is the understanding of faith. That plays a big role. We persist because we have faith. Mm-hmm. And a way that sometimes we engage a lot in the fear of criticism is that we criticize others. There's a fine line between standards and criticism. And do you criticize yourself? When you criticize yourself, you're kind of chipping away at that self-image. How are you going to change that language within yourself to boost up that self-esteem and that confidence, so that you can create that self-image can come through your spirit in the way that it is meant to, in your amazingness and in your infinite abilities. So some of the symptoms for those ones are going to be being very self-conscious, a lack of poise. We have inferiority complex, a lack of initiative, and a lack of ambition. Your lack of ambition is you're hesitant to take action. And action's where it's at. If you don't take action, you don't see any results. If you don't see any results, you're not going to see the success that you want, and for the attainment of that goal and that purpose. So which one do you suffer from specifically, based out of the two that we have here? But which one specifically for this one? And if you aren't selling as well, like, because the essence of when you're engaged in a business, or you have your own business, you must learn how to sell, because selling is actually what makes the business move. That's what makes it that you have a business. So you have to understand yourself first, and the more you understand yourself, the more you can understand others that are looking to that you're looking to serve through your business. And you have to understand that those the fear of criticism, the fear of poverty, are two of the reasons why people won't buy. And when you examine them in yourself, you can examine it in others as well. Okay, remember, we're still on this idea of self-image. So here, again, I just want to reiterate that we are, and you are, a spiritual being. You have an intellect, and you live in a spiritual body. Okay, it's that is truly where your power resides, and understanding those three components can help you to flow through some of these different ideas that are coming through. But you have to ask yourself first, like, do you accept that idea? Do you accept that you are a spiritual being with an intellect and that you live in a physical body? If you think deep enough, and you don't, you might find that it does make a lot of sense. And what does that mean to be a spiritual being? It's a really great question. How powerful are we? How powerful is this stuff? How wonderful can life truly become? So how do you acquire more experience and confidence? Okay. And that's all that we're seeking. We're all seeking more of that confidence. More of that confidence is actually how we're going to shift our self-esteem and our self-worth and our self-image. That's confidence has again massive idea. It's like the ocean. Um, if you're lacking in confidence practice, like so, um, you have to get into mental rehearsal. Okay, that's the answer. Mental rehearsal, which I also like to say as prayer. Okay, mental rehearsal is like prayer. Okay, you're looking for a higher power to help you, and you're going to repeat those things in your intellect so that it drops down in your subconscious for you to adopt and accept that idea in a way that it becomes your identity. Okay, so as an example, I teach sales. So for my students who are doing sales, I tell them that they have to do a sales presentation in their head every day. Okay. When you start stacking up a lot of different sales presentation over and over and being consistent with it, you persist in that practice, you persist in that repetition, um, and you start your day with identifying with that sales presentation that you're going to be there to serve, because a sales presentation is truly there to serve another human being. Okay, it's there to help them to make a decision based on what it is that they want. We're there to guide them in making the best decisions for themselves and to discover things about themselves that make them that they want to reach that goal or engage in that service, because that's what's going to help them move forward in attaining their goal. So once you do that, then you start visualizing. Okay, and you're going to find that visualization is a habit, just like everything else, and it's a powerful one at that. Okay. So if you are in sales, for example, I strongly suggest that you start doing that. But a lot of people, they start, but they won't continue because we're busy working. You know, um, Visualization can have a very, very huge impact. So we're just finishing off here. So I want to leave you with 3 questions that you're going to go through for yourself. Okay. I want you to write out what your goal is going to be in all its glory. Okay. And I really like to start with, I'm so happy and grateful that, because when we say, I am so happy and grateful now, we are embodying the present moment, not looking like it's something that we want for later. We are now attracting what it is that is important for us now, and we already have the attainment of our goal. We already identify with our goal. And I suggest that you put in a specific income amount that you're looking to achieve and all the things that go about around that as well. Okay? Because it's through money that you're going to be able to attain that specific freedom to then be able to, even for yourself, be able to achieve even more of the goals that you have for yourself. It doesn't always have to be money, but I am strongly suggesting that it is. That is part of it. So you start with, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm earning this amount by a specific time, and then you write all the details that go along with that. And then you're going to then write out the man or woman in Greek detail that has accomplished that goal. So that's how we link it to that self image. Okay, what do you think? What do you feel? What are you wearing? What are you driving? What are you doing in the morning? What does your daily routine look like? Who are your friends? What do you want to have as your hobbies? Like all of the things, and I mean great detail. So it should probably be like a page and a half. What's that man or woman that because once we know that, then you visualize it. You visualize that person in the morning and at night, because then that's what's putting your ideas and that repetition, that visualization, that's going to get into your emotional mind. So you start identifying with it, growing that self image, so that you can engage in the action of it itself, because that's going to make that ease of engaging in the action towards that goal, because you're identifying yourself with that person that has accomplished that goal. You're visualizing that person accomplishing that goal, and that's moving you through the steps that you need to take in growing that self image. So we're going to get into the question and answers period. And I just wanted to thank you so much for your attention and so far your awesome participation. I had a lot to cover, so I know there's a lot of questions. I'm hoping that I'll be able to go through some of it as well. But if anyone is looking to talk to me further about the subject, I would love to book a call with you and have a conversation. So you can always go to my website and you'll see it at the top right. It says book a call. And so yeah, if you're looking to grow your mindset, you're looking to get on that personal journey, or you're really looking to grow, I'm here to help. So please feel free to contact me and we can have a one-on-one conversation. So yeah, so let's get into the question and answer period. So let me take a look here. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I see Samantha's going to be helping me out here. So
Yes. Okay. Okay, so first I would like to say thank you so much to Christine for the enlightening session on self-image. Your insights and advice have been incredibly valuable, and I can see that it provoked a lot of thoughts and just overall thought-provoking insight within the chat box from everybody. So thank you so much for the insight and thank you so much for the advice. And I believe we have quite a lot of questions for you to go through.
okay.
So just to ensure that everybody is on the same page, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box and you can just write all of those down. There is also a Q&A section, which is right under the tab for the chat section where you can place any questions that you have. And if you would like to come up on stage, you can just raise your hand. There is a little tab just at the bottom of your screen that you can tap, and we will bring you up on stage where you can talk to Christine herself. Okay, so our first question from Amina asks, what role does self-compassion and mindfulness play?
Well, from my perspective, those are two really huge ones as well. Okay, so self-compassion is actually what we are using, because remember I talked about like not feeling bad about yourself. Often we when we see something negative, it first hits us, right? We get that first arrow, like, oh, I got that defeat, or things didn't really work out the way that I wanted to. But if we feel bad about ourselves, we're actually like adding a second arrow. You know, we're creating more pain for ourselves. So that's where the self-compassion comes in. We have to start seeing ourselves as okay, yeah, I'm hurting right now, and this hurt, this defeat hurt, or this obstacle or this problem hurt. But I can understand that I'm a human being. You know, I am part of this area and this place that it is going to hurt, and I can be kind to myself in the fact that it's hurting, because we don't want to add more suffering to ourselves. So that would be the first element when it comes to self-compassion. And mindfulness is huge, because once you start being present with yourself, and mindfulness is really that being aware of the present moment in all of its components. You know, you start being the person. You take a step back and you start seeing all the things that are entering your consciousness. Okay, you start understanding that you're not your consciousness. We live in the plane of consciousness, and everything that comes in is entity, and we are not even the observer of consciousness. We actually are consciousness. And when we do that, we start seeing ourselves as that spiritual being of seeing that no thing. The more we are mindful in the more we meditate and focus on our breath and the sounds, and we almost like take away the physicalness, like, because we can think of a location, let's say, in our body, but we can actually start focusing on everything being an entity. Then we start seeing parts of us being part of a consciousness that is very much a no thing, and everything is just an appearance in our consciousness. And we start seeing our spiritual self in a more impactful way. But when I'm saying it right now, it seems very abstract. You almost have to experience it, and you're going to learn how to experience that way. A good actually a good recommendation for an amazing meditation is called it's with Sam Harris, and he's got an amazing app. And if anyone's interested, you guys can send me a message, and you guys get 30 days for free. And it's called Waking Up. It's the app called Waking Up, and you get 30 days, and it's got a lot of comprehensive element on how to get mindfulness in the play.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have a question from Miriam, who asks, what advice would you give to someone starting their personal growth journey?
I would say start taking action. Start identifying what is your goal first. What is it that you would find something meaningful to engage in? So start writing that down. And it's all about brainstorming. There's no right or wrong answer. Start writing the things that you want in life. And you think of it from all planes. What do you want for a relationship? What do you want for your own professional life? What does that look like? Start writing down truly visually what your life might look like overall. And then you can pick a goal from there, and then you start taking action. It's only when you start taking action that you're going to get feedback from the world that will guide you in knowing where your personal growth might need to start developing. And your personal growth journey starts with that decision. Okay, I see that you're starting, that decision, you're making that decision, but the core is that once you create that goal, once you start moving towards it, you are in the process of understanding yourself better. And you're truly going to understand yourself better when you start taking action and seeing what it is that you're looking to grow from. But focus on understanding yourself better through the goal and the purpose that you're going to create for yourself.
Okay, next from jail, we have, how can someone overcome the feeling of self-consciousness and the perception that others dislike them or are against them?
Well, that is your perception. Okay, so we almost have to start asking yourself questions. It's almost like you have to ask, is that truly what you believe is the truth? The truth is, most people are focused on themselves. In a sense, they care about you, but they don't truly care about you. People But the truth is, at the same time, is people like it when you succeed, but they also love it when you fail, and they often love it when you fail because, and that's often what we get as an energy from others, and what might make us more self-conscious, is because they're harmonizing with the fact that they never took the courage to undertake the things that you are looking to undertake. So the best way to overcome it is to be aware of it. Okay, you want to be aware of the perceptions that are coming in, and then you want to feel them, because it's a feeling, right? You think them and it becomes a feeling, so you want to engage in the feeling itself, and then you want to be the person that's going to counter them. Is this really what this person is truly thinking? What is it about myself that I don't see that can actually be focused, because now you're focusing that lens and that movie and that light on the negative element of what the other person might be thinking, when really you have to look at some of the things that you see as beneficial in the experience that you're in. but but evidence builds belief. So the best way to truly get over that feeling, after you've kind of done that inventory and you've kind of accepted those feelings and shifted them, is to just start going out there and serving others. Go out there and help others. Once you start helping others, you will see the reason why you are on this earth and why you're serving others, to create a purpose to help others grow for themselves. Often, when we think too much about ourselves, is because we're too egocentric. Go out there and help others.
I think that is very good advice. I definitely agree. From Mohammed, we have, how does our self worth evolve when we consciously disconnect from societal validation and embrace our intrinsic values?
Okay. How does it? Okay, that's a good question. Okay, um, consciously disconnect. Well, the answer is in embracing our intrinsic values. The outside world is not what matters. It is the inside world. Like, everything starts within yourself. Like, when we say your self image is your spiritual self, it's because it truly is. It starts with you. It starts with you, and your values have everything to do with you being aligned and you creating that identity for yourself. So if you are moving towards your alignment of your intrinsic values, you will, it again, it's that evidence will build that belief. So you're going to be specifically engaged in that value that means a lot to you, so you're going to see yourself even grow even more as seeing that value that you have to offer to others. So yeah, it's absolutely about disconnecting from that societal validation. And we are humans, okay? So we can't say that we can completely disconnect from societal validation. It still is going to have an impact, but you are going to have that choice as to how much of an impact it's going to be, and the values that you have intrinsically and within yourself. And when you look deep and engage in them, that will grow, because you see yourself as engaged and aligned with who you are and what matters to you.
Right. So we have a question in the chat box. We have Helamet asking, how can I make my values heard without crossing boundaries of other people? And just a reminder to everybody, feel free to raise your hand and join the stage to ask your question.
Yeah. Um, do you have it on the screen? Okay, it's on the chat box, you said? Okay, let me take a look at it again.
Yes, yes.
That is a hard one. In the sense that we have to have the courage to say the things that are uncomfortable. So the best, in a sense, you have to ask the other person maybe permission to have that conversation with that person. First and foremost, um, is it crossing their, like, we have to be we have to be mindful of the other person's boundaries, but your boundary is also your value. So first and foremost, you have to understand that your own boundaries is your own freedom. Okay, boundaries is freedom. So by you being honest with your own value, your own boundaries first, and your own values first, you will then be kinder in asking and having that conversation with someone, that uncomfortable conversation, to ask maybe how that might be crossing those boundaries. And then you're creating boundaries for each other. If it's with family, it's a little bit more complicated, and it's a bit more difficult to have those heard, but your boundaries first are the most important, and your values are the most important to engage in. So yeah, have the have a difficult conversation of understanding what are the boundaries that you might be crossing and how much that's affecting them. Questions are the answers. Yeah.
So, a new question from Rebecca, who asks, how can I build my confidence and overcome fear?
Exposure. You got to do it. Um, it's evidence builds belief. So the best way you start building that confidence, and because we want to overcome that fear, right? We always think we're gonna overcome it. The thing is, we're not actually overcoming it. We're actually just moving towards it. Fear and courage, they live as one. Okay, you can't separate them. Courage is actually moving through the fear and doing the things that are hard, doing the things that are difficult. That is what being brave is. And engaging in that act in itself is what's going to build that confidence. It's only through you having engaged in the action that scares you, moving through the fear, even though the fear is there, you're still engaging in it regardless, that you're going to gain that confidence. Now, the best way to do that is just take it like little bites. Okay, you don't want to take the huge chunk and just completely destroy it. You take what it is that you're looking to overcome as your fear. Let's say you want to get on social media, for example. It's like super fearful for you to be in front of your friends and family, and engaging in, let's say, something that might not be as common, or to talk about a subject that you might be judged for. Um, you you might have the outcome of wanting to have lots of different videos or lots of different things that you want to talk about. Talk about something that you're the most comfortable with at the beginning. Instead of putting it outside first, start doing a bunch of videos every day for yourself. Get on the camera, look at yourself doing it, then look at yourself. What's the outcome of it? What can you improve? What can you do a little bit better? And then once you've done, let's say, 30 days of videos, and you can like pick one that you find that you like, and then you put it on social media. And that's just like that small thing. Take little bites of your fear and then move through it.
Right. Before we move to the last question, I actually have a
Yeah,
question myself.
yeah, for
I
sure.
was curious how you personally, or rather, what routine or habits that you personally follow that help you maintain a positive self image, if you would like to share today.
Yeah, absolutely. I make sure that I do things that make me feel good. I engage in the things that I enjoy doing, um, on a regular basis. I know that meditation is really important. It gets me to just be like within myself, and spiritually. I connect with a higher power every day. I have a dialogue with it, like throughout the day. It's especially in the morning, but throughout the day. I make sure that I exercise. I get that. Those endorphins going. I find that if I exercise, I have way less negative thoughts than if I don't exercise. It will be very, very obvious. I engage in nature. I go outside specifically. I breathe in the fresh air. I look at the trees. I listen to the birds. I'm very present in the moment as much as possible. And I engage in community. I talk to people. I learn. I ask a lot of questions. I learn from others. I laugh with others. And those are the things that really create more of that positive image. And I move through the things that I'm fearful of, the things that I'm most scared of. I move through it because that's actually what grows even my self image even more, because I see what I'm capable of. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely agree with the idea that doing things that make you happy is very important, especially
Mhm.
every single day. So thank you so much for answering my question.
Yeah,
And
with
I think
pleasure.
I think we can move on to the last question for
Mhm.
today.
Yeah.
It is by Eniola, who asks, how to build self-love? A very important question.
A very important question. How to build self-love. Um, it's about engaging in the things that you love to do. It's about um, trying to change the narrative that you have in your mind. Um, it's about connecting to a higher spirit and truly understanding and taking the time to understand yourself to see how you are truly amazing. Um, do things that matter to you. Go help others, because when you love others, it's like it goes back and forth. Um, tell yourself how much you love yourself. Get that narrative back in your mind. Get that those the affirmations of loving. I actually started doing at the beginning. Like songs. Songs are always talking about how much they love someone else. Well, I started like taking that narrative and switching it to me. Like there's a song called um, "The Sun is Shining on Me, and so are you." Like the other person is shining on me, and like, and so are you. Like I'm also shining on myself. Like it's about switching that narrative, and it's putting that affirmation like I love you, and looking at yourself in the mirror and say like I love you, like I truly love you. Like I look at myself in my eyes specifically because the eyes are the the door to your soul. And when you really look at yourself and say like I really really love you. um I love you more than anything. When you start that narrative, it starts to it then that's what's going to go into your subconscious. Your thought is where it starts, so you have to start about those thoughts of self-love and engage in the actions of self-love. Again, boundaries has a lot to do with it. When I say boundaries is freedom, huge impact. And when you love yourself, you have those boundaries, and you're able to communicate those boundaries. So understand what those boundaries are and engage in the actions that will have those boundaries, and know that you have a higher spirit that's there to help you to engage in that self-love. um, yeah, because self-love and self-image go so much hand in hand, because you are an amazing person, and you have to realize that for yourself. You have that choice, and once you see how amazing you are, man, the world changes around you.
Thank you so much. We
Yeah.
actually have Kalichi who has joined us on stage. I believe he has
Okay,
a question.
great.
Kalichi,
Awesome,
go
Kalichi.
ahead. Please introduce yourself first and then go ahead.
All right. Hi, Christian.
Kalichi, hi, nice to meet you.
So, thank you very much for the wonderful session. So, I just
Yeah.
have a little question. How
Mhm.
do you handle a situation where you have a perception of yourself, but then people have another perception of you that you don't think is actually what it is? Like, let me explain.
Mhm.
Like, maybe you think you're a little bit needy, but then people think you're, the opposite. So how do you deal with that? How do you balance the two perceptions? Do I go for what I think, or do I go for what people think?
You go for what you think. You're is it because someone has communicated to you that that is the perception they have, or is that you assuming the perception that they have?
Yeah, they communicated to me on several occasions and different people the same,
Okay.
the same perception. So like I
Okay.
felt maybe they are correct at some point.
Okay. So there might be, again, there might be some truth in the way. If it's more than one person, then it's something that you now have to integrate for yourself. Okay, you have now the filter of determining, now that I have that information, I'm going to create a greater awareness for myself and see when I'm engaging in actions, would that be something that is correct? But the thing is also you have to consider yourself, is that something that's serving me? Like in your engagement of the way that you are engaging in that situation, is that truly serving me, or is it something that is really not to the benefit of someone else? Because it starts with you. If you feel that the action that you're engaging in, or the perception that you have of yourself in that way, is the correct way that you want to engage with the world, then it doesn't matter what the other person thinks. Yeah. But a lot of people have said it. You want to still filter it as, is that something in my actions that I want as a perception for myself, and if I don't, how am I going to change maybe those actions, and ask those questions. Can you give me an example as to when I was in this action, how that happened, and how would you change it so that we can have a better relationship?
Uh, I think that will work.
Yeah.
Thank you
Does,
so
does that
much.
give you does that give a clear indication? If you want to, have more insight on it, yeah, ask the question.
All right. Thank you so much, Christine.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kalichi. Um, I think this brings us to the end of the Q&A section. I would just like
Okay.
to let everybody know that you can find the replay of today's session on our YouTube at Global Citizenship Foundation, and you can find us on all social media platforms at Global Citizenship Foundation. And feel free to go to our website to do any browsing, if you will, at gcf.social. And most importantly, a huge thank you to Christine. A wonderful session. I'm pretty sure everybody had something to take away from it, because I believe self-image is a very important topic that covers pretty much your entire life. So
It is.
thank you so much.
It is.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
It has been an amazing pleasure to be amongst you guys. Thank you so much, Samantha and Mayal and Mohammed, for inviting me and facilitating me, and for all of your beautiful souls that have had the courage to ask all those questions and of participating. It has been insightful for me and just an absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you so much.
And right before you go, we would like to show you a video on GCF and just a little bit about what we do.
For sure. Yeah. I'd love to see it.
Hello and welcome to the Global Citizenship Foundation. We are delighted to briefly introduce the Global Citizenship Foundation to you. The Global Citizenship Foundation is one of the world's pioneering not-for-profit organizations, with a mandate to advance active global citizenship and global citizenship education, also known as GCED. As one of the leading specialist organizations, we are focused on achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4.7 towards fostering education for global citizenship and sustainable development. In our efforts to contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, we at the Global Citizenship Foundation are committed to transforming education and workplaces for human and planetary flourishing by developing global programs and initiatives to build the capacity of education leaders, educators, and youth in the 6 key areas of focus. That is, global citizenship education, education for sustainable development, social-emotional learning, education for anti-racism and intercultural understanding, Holocaust and genocide education, and peace and human rights education. The Foundation provides strategic support to individuals, institutions, and organizations to help achieve our mandate in line with Education 2030, as envisioned by the United Nations. Together, we can make a difference in the world by promoting active global citizenship and fostering education for sustainable development. Thank you for joining us on this journey towards shaping global leadership for a more inclusive and sustainable future for all. Join the Global Citizenship Foundation today and be a part of this transformative movement towards a better tomorrow.